Welcome to Soul Synergy Network. I'm your host, Dr. Irma Elisheva Diaz. Today, we're going to gently explore something that many experience but rarely name: emotional numbing. Whether you are grieving the loss of a loved one, navigating trauma, or simply trying to survive another day in a chaotic world, you may know what it feels like to be alive but not fully present. The armor we wear to protect our hearts, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, can become so familiar, we forget we ever lived without it. It protects, yes, but it also isolates. It keeps the worst out, but also the best. This episode isn't about ripping off the armor all at once. It's about recognizing what it costs to keep it on all the time, and imagining who you might become if you allowed yourself to feel again, even slowly, even imperfectly. So what is emotional numbing? Emotional numbing is a survival response. It's the body and soul saying, I felt too much. I need to stop feeling just to keep going. It can show up as a lack of reaction, even to things that once brought joy or sadness. It can show up as a feeling of being detached from the people you love, or going through your day like a script without fully showing up. It shows up in overbusyness or productivity, and it becomes a form of avoidance. You might even find yourself avoiding quiet moments because that's when the feelings come up and rise. Or you may feel guilty for not feeling enough. A woman in one of my grief groups once said, I cried so much in the beginning, but now I feel nothing. And that scares me more than the grief did. That too is emotional numbness. So let's look at why numbing happens. We numb to survive the unbearable, to keep functioning, even when everything in us wants to fall apart. Our nervous system, in its wisdom, speaks to us and says, let me freeze this pain until I feel safe enough to feel it. But here's the problem. We stay in that frozen state a little too long. And what was once a short-term shelter becomes a long-term prison. Eventually, we can't access joy either. We stop laughing deeply. We stop feeling connected. We feel absent from our own lives. You're not broken. You're protected. But maybe, you just haven't been ready to thaw out, And so we have to remember there's a cost to staying numb. Numbing comes at a big cost, not all at once, but little by little. In other words, if you're numb to feelings and emotions, relationships feel more distant. You love, but you feel unreachable. Joy becomes elusive. You forget what used to move you, or even how to express that. Body tension and fatigue begins to build in us when we're numb, because naturally we're housing it all. Suppressed emotion turns inward. Then there's identity confusion. When that sets in, it's a mess. You become the role you play, not the person you are. So even though you are an emotional person, or you used to be able to express yourself or express things a certain way, all of a sudden in this numbness, you're a different person. You don't even recognize yourself. We disappear. We disappear into others' roles, whatever people place on us as who we should be or how we should behave. We no longer are ourselves. We lose ourselves, and one day we wake up and we look in the mirror and we wonder where we went. It's almost as if we disappeared in the numbness in that place where we just want to separate ourselves from the hurt we've been through, from the challenges we've had to endure, from the defeats that we may feel we've experienced in life, and we end up disappearing. And all of a sudden, we need to find ourselves again. This is the quiet erosion of emotional numbing. So how do you know if you've gone emotionally numb? You feel disconnected from your own reactions. You say things like, I should be crying, or I know this matters, but I can't feel it. What's wrong with me? You avoid photos or memories or conversations that once mattered to you deeply. You no longer enjoy things you once loved. These aren't flaws. They're signals for us. They say, I've carried too much for too long without any rest. And it's all inside of me. So what now? Well, you don't have to flood yourself with feeling. You just need to make room for your feelings. So here's some gentle ways to begin. Name one feeling a day, even if it's just numb or confused. When you name a feeling or an emotion you have, it reconnects you. And that is key. Naming your feeling, at least one feeling a day, it starts to come back. You start to ponder it, and you start to feel feelings again. You can have micro restoration, where it doesn't have to be a long 2-week vacation or a month-long vacation out of the country. Just go sit in the sun. Listen to music that has stirred you in the past. Small sensory experiences can slowly awaken what's frozen in us. And believe me, it's easy to allow hurts to freeze. Number 3, connect through touch. Hold a warm mug, hug someone, place a hand over your heart. Let your body feel safety again. Number 4, talk to someone safe. That's for everything. Not someone who's going to rush you to fix you, but someone who will witness you, who will validate you. And number 5, beauty, art, painting. I know an artist that she came to our grief group, Joanne Fornia, and she is so gifted and so talented. And I ended up recruiting her to help me with grief groups. And she brought in paint and paint brushes, and there was laughter, there were tears, there was all kinds of good things that came up in everybody from just painting. Why? Because beauty speaks to you. Creativity speaks to you. Let your soul leak out in color or leak out in sound, right? It's so helpful for us. Number 6, grieve what you lost without a timeline, without rules. Don't let anybody rush you and tell you got to rush, you got to get through this faster. Just have your own timeline. Give yourself permission to grieve. You are allowed to feel emotions like anger, sadness, emptiness, and turn it around into hopefulness. And you can do that all in the same day, and it doesn't make any sense, but it's because you're going through loss. It could be the loss of a loved one, but it also could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of a pet. It could be the loss of, all these different things that touch our lives. And then there's affirmations. Usually when I bring that up in a grief group or in any kind of group, people kind of chuckle because they can't see themselves affirming themselves. But, you can look in the mirror and you can talk to yourself. You can affirm yourself, or you can just speak out affirmations about your life and about things that you're working on and all of those things. And it strengthens you. It helps you. So we need to ask ourselves, who are you under the armor this armor of protection that we build around ourselves. Behind the strength, behind the smile, behind the coping strategies, there is still you. The you that once felt very deeply. The you that still longs for peace in every aspect of your life. The you that hasn't given up even in the silence. What if that version of you is not gone? What if it's just waiting for you? I think it is. In order to address this deeper, let's look at emotional healing. Emotional healing is the process of acknowledging, processing, and releasing emotional wounds. And often, those tied to grief, trauma, rejection, fear, shame, and abandonment are big in what we need to release. This is when we can recognize suppressed emotions like sadness, anger, guilt, or fear. It's when we can identify emotional triggers and how they impact our behavior or relationships. It's when we are able to process past experiences through therapy, journaling, or guided support. This is when we learn new emotional habits, such as self-compassion, because we need that. Boundary setting, we need that. Or mindfulness. How badly we need that. How about reclaiming emotional safety so that love, trust, and joy become possible again? See, emotional healing says what happened to me matters. Matters. But it doesn't have to define me forever. I'm not in denial. I didn't say it didn't happen. It doesn't have to define me forever. That's when you know you begin to heal. Then there's intuitive healing. Intuitive healing involves listening to the inner wisdom of your body and your soul, the quiet signals and knowing that guide us, the knowing inside of us, I call it the knower, that guides us toward restoration, toward alignment, toward peace. Trusting our gut instincts about what feels off. You know, sometimes we ignore that, and it's so real. What feels unsafe, even before logic can explain it. Or listening to the body's signals when we feel fatigue or tension, or like we're coming down with something. Those are messages. They're not just symptoms. Using spiritual practices. You know, if you're a person of faith, pray. Don't ever give up on prayer. I'm a person of faith. Pray. Meditate. You know, take time to just meditate, to have quiet time, to have stillness, to tap into clarity. These are signs of healing. Allowing the unconscious or the soul voice to surface through dreams, through imagery, through silence. All of those things are telltale signs that we're moving toward healing. Healing through presence, intuition, and discernment. Not only through diagnosis or somebody telling you you're getting better, but you start to see and feel and notice things that are telltale signs. You're starting to heal. So together, all these things offer holistic healing, not just symptoms, but root causes that we address. Emotional intelligence, spiritual discernment. You know, a lot of people are they shy away from anything spiritual, especially if they're not religious. And this is important. This is very important, especially to me as I share with my audience. You know, you cannot get away from the spiritual realm. You can say you're an atheist. You can say you're an agnostic. I'm not even trying to impose religion. I'm just saying that you cannot get away from the spiritual realm. You can try. So naturally, that is a part of us that needs healing. That's a part of us that needs to be explored. That's a part of us that we don't need to run from. It helps us become whole. There's empowerment. You become an active participant in your own healing when you allow these parts of who you are as a human being to become alive. A deeper connection to your inner self is, it's so very important to your wholeness, rather than only working externally. I could give you some examples. A person grieving a loved one may use emotional healing to name their sorrow and guilt, while intuitive healing helps them discern when it's time to rest, reconnect, or release. We need it all. We need all of it, the whole package. Someone with chronic burnout might process emotional exhaustion, for example, but also learn intuitively what rhythms, environments, or people nourish them versus what drains us. Many times we put ourselves in positions where we're drained instead of nourished, and we keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So we ask ourselves gently, where have I gone numb, where I'm just not feeling what's going on? What emotions have I been avoiding? What part of me needs to be invited back to life? This is not the end. This is the beginning. You don't have to feel everything today. You just feel something, one thing, anything. That's enough. That's where it starts. Remember these things. Can we be emotionally numb? Absolutely. Is that a protection mechanism? Absolutely. But if it goes too far, it will isolate you from you yourself. Keep these things in mind. I want to thank you for being here with me today, for being real, for being brave enough to listen. And if today stirred something in you, be gentle with yourself, give yourself space, and know that feeling is not failure. It is life returning to you. Remember to stay in touch. Remember to subscribe. And as I close, this is Soul Synergy Network. Until next time, God bless you.